Good morning. I am walking in a portion of the northern Kettle Moraine in southeast Wisconsin. This is all part of the Ice Age Trail, and this is called the Butler Lake Loop Trail. It's a trail that I love. I used to take the girls down here in the winter, sledding and running around. These are woods that Tim used to hunt in quite a bit. So the topic that's been coming up for me this week related to thriving is being present. And I think thriving is something that happens in the present moment. One afternoon I laid down and took a nap and woke up and checked my phone and then kind of wandered on to, one of the social media platforms and just started scrolling and looking at, all these other lives that people are living and things that people are doing. And a whole wide range of things, like good things, fun things, adventurous things, work things. And I found myself quickly going down the rabbit hole of comparison and feeling like, holy shit, I need to catch up. I need to be somewhere where I'm not. I need to be doing this, or I need to be doing that, or I should have been doing this, or what the hell am I doing? And found it to be just a lot of comparison and a lot of kind of going into the, wow, listen. There's a ton of birds in there. So this is sort of case in point, like stopping and hearing the sound and like watching the branches of the trees bend as the birds step onto the branches and hearing them just chatter with each other. Like being in this moment feels amazing and alive and connected, and like there's nothing missing. Nothing at all. There's nowhere to be, there's nothing to do. All there is to just like observe and be with this incredible life that's happening in front of me. And in this moment, this week, when I was like starting to go down the rabbit hole of comparison and kind of looking back to the past and looking ahead to the future and like feeling like, oh, I'm comparing myself up and I'm coming up short somehow. Or I'm looking ahead and I'm afraid of shit not working out the way that I hope it will. And that is like a killjoy. Like the moment I go there, it just steals the life from me. It sucks every bit of energy out of me. And I went from just like peacefully, quietly laying in my bed to feeling my heart race, feeling myself like squirmy in my body, feeling agitation, feeling like I needed to get up and do something quickly, but I had no idea what it was that I would even do. So I caught myself and I heard like thriving is in the present moment. And it brought my attention to a conversation that I had with Tim last winter it had snowed, and we went for a walk into the woods behind our house. It was one of like the few occasions when he had enough energy to go enjoy the snow. And I just was really like in that comparison mode, and also feeling like I want to be doing something other than what I'm doing right now. And I felt like a loss of freedom and resentment about that. And I looked to him and I was just like being honest, I said, can I just be honest with you about like where I'm at right now and how I'm feeling? And I said, I feel like cancer has stolen our freedom. And I said, how do you do it? You're like, and he said, I've definitely learned a lot about that. He said, I had to make a decision early on when he was in dialysis. He said he was sitting in dialysis and just, it was dawning on him that this was going to be an, 4-hour adventure 3 times a week for the rest of his life. And he was smelling the smells, which aren't great. Being there, watching his blood circulate through a machine, knowing that that was the only way for him to be alive. Because the moment he would go off, like the calcium would start to really build in his body, and pretty soon he would go into toxicity, and that would be the end. So he said, I just had to like look around me and pay attention to the nurses and the workers that were there to run these machines. I had to pay attention to my body and the fact that it was getting a treatment that it needed so that I could be like return home to you and to the girls so that I could live another day. And I had to decide to focus on the gift of that versus the feeling trapped and feeling a loss of my freedom. And I've witnessed that over and over with patients that I've served over the years. I remember working with a burn patient who had was working and jumped into some kind of a tanker and it exploded. I don't remember the details of it, but he sustained 90% burns on his body. And this guy was one of the most positive people I've ever met. And here he is, like, his body has been maimed by these burns. Definitely a lot of disfigurement. But he was so grateful to be alive. He had a son who was 15, and one of their dreams together was to hike Mount Rainier. And that was his goal in therapy, was to hike Mount Rainier. And he did it. He hiked it with his son. That was where all of the therapy got him to. But he remained focused on that goal and on fulfilling that dream with his son. And that, that was a dream out in the future, but it gave him purpose in the present moment. And just like returning home to be with us gave him something to hold on to in the present moment to get him through, his weekly treatments. And that was, those were only some of the treatments he went through. He went through a ton. It was like every day his job was to stay alive, to do the treatments that would keep him alive. And at the end, I think part of what allowed him to die a peaceful death was just knowing he showed up to life in the best way that he could while he could. And he utilized what was available to him to do that. And when it was no longer available, there was like a peaceful surrender, knowing he did all that he could. And it was his time to let go. And so, yeah, kind of coming back to laying in my own bed and wrestling and comparing myself, I just started to like focus on like, oh, I'm just laying here and I'm resting, and that feels good. I started looking around my room and like appreciating the silvery green shade of paint that I had put on my walls, and just like allowing myself to appreciate and find joy in the way the sunlight was like softly reflecting off of that beautiful shade of green. And it was just like a simple little thing, but it gave me the opportunity to return to the present. And in doing that, I was like, oh, I'm alive right now. I'm breathing right now. I'm here right now. And, you know, that's when thriving is in the present moment. Just came out loud and clear. And I think that's why I feel strongly like thriving is available to all of us, no matter what circumstances we find ourselves in. And I look around at nature, and a lot of times it's up against a lot of odds that we put it through. And yet the tenacity of a weed, we call it a weed, sometimes it's just a gorgeous flower emerging through the cracks of cement in a parking lot, just speak to nature's capacity to thrive. It's tenacious desire to like just pierce through some of the hardest obstacles, to reach for the light, to grow and be welcomed by the light. And I don't in any way want to like negate the hardship that many of us are experiencing and how real that is. And you know, if your belly's starving or your safety's at risk, it's darn near impossible to feel. I mean, I don't even know that I have the grounds to speak on some of this, because this is, I only have my experiences that I've lived through that I can really speak on. But I've had my own hardship. And so I guess from my own hardship, I can speak to what I've learned from that and what I know to be true from that. And I think even just being at Tim's bedside when all of the numbers were indicating to imminent death, if his body didn't course correct quickly because he was out of options. This was about a full year and almost a year and a half before he actually died, because it was in the fall after he was first diagnosed, and we almost lost him. But I remember this moment being with the girls and just talking to him, and he was completely unconscious, but I was talking to him and I could feel a part of him like fully with us, out of his body. It was like his spirit was hovering. And I turned to my daughter and I said, if you want Dad to come back, you talk to him and you talk right up there. And she did, and she started almost shouting in the room and said, Daddy, you have to come back. Like, you have to come back now. And I believe she summoned him back. And he, within an hour, all of his numbers turned around. His fever broke. Everything changed. And I think he kind of had lost touch with purpose and a reason for being in his body, in this life, in this world, in this plane of existence. But her words summoned him back and gave him purpose again here. And in that moment with him, with the girls, in the midst of everything that was going on, I felt this sense of being like fully alive and awake and alert. And it was a hard ass moment, but I would connect the word thriving to that experience because of that feeling of aliveness and awakeness and alertness. And there was nothing missing in that moment. We were there, present with each other, probably in ways that we hadn't been in other moments of our lives. And I'll never, never, never forget that moment. And as hard as it was, there was like a deep beauty and preciousness to it. Just like there is here now as life courses through the earth, through the trees, through the birds that are flying around. And I'm just grateful to be here. So I think that's all I want to say for now. All right. I wish you a beautiful day, blessed day, and I wish you lots of peace wherever you are in this incredible world. Peace.